Hello people, just a bit of a video. I've done a lot of them paperwork videos now. There is even more paperwork I can disclose, like the assessments I think are in there. There's all sorts of things. My stepdad would probably want to try and keep some of the info top secret, but I think the whole world should know what my stepdad's really like. And yeah, he even kept it secret from like social services and everybody, that basically he didn't pursue any criminal charges when I threatened to hit my son. Basically on that occasion when I completely had a meltdown and got really angry and flipped out because they wouldn't let me breastfeed my daughter Acacia, because they had me back living with them for a time when I was discharged from the hospital. And they wanted me to go back and live full-time with them originally. Yes, I have domestically abused my partner in the past. We have had a very domestic abuse, volatile relationship in the past. Bear in mind, this was many years ago. There's no violence between us now. We don't kick and punch each other and harm each other, and I don't smash his property anymore or smash his phone or anything like that like I did back then. Obviously police were involved, there was going to be potentially charges, but then Simon said, oh no, you'd let me off with it. But basically, yeah, it has been a very volatile relationship in the early parts. But now we have a good sexual relationship. We sleep together. We do all the things that couples do. He does get very annoyed and frustrated still because he comes home from a long day at work, cooks me a late night snack, or depending what time he's come home, cooks me my food, helps me have a shower, and what he washes, and he basically, I wash my hair and do my washing and stuff. I can wash myself and wash my own hair, but he just helps with like brushing and drying my hair. And obviously he does all the cooking in the house. I don't lift a finger and do any cooking. Well, technically I live separately, technically, because of the incidents that we all know about. Back in 2023, a couple of years, it was about 2-3 years ago, wasn't it? Now, so basically, because of that incident, his landlord said I had to leave the property and never return, and that his landlord doesn't want me in the property, really. It's all top secret from the landlord. He don't know I'm here. He don't want me in the property at all. They could probably read through me that I can be a bit of a nasty piece of work when I want to be. But yeah, basically I get him to wait on me hand and foot and do everything for me. I try to do little bits a bit more now. Like if he's on like today, he went to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and he's been on a double shift till he comes home at 10 o'clock tonight, and then I'm getting Uber back to my house because I'm going somewhere on a day trip tomorrow really early on the coach. So yeah, that's all pretty good. But yeah, he's a good bloke. He's very loving, very tolerant. I mean, most blokes would have probably walked out and never had me back after all the domestic abuse that I've domestically abused him with, and all the domestic abuse and having to be my. He sometimes says it's like being my servant. And he says he don't like that. So I have had to try and really put my foot forward and do more for myself, which I do. I will do like little bits for myself, like sandwiches, soups, bits of cooking that I can do. But mainly it's microwave cooking when he's not here, because he says he don't want me using the oven in case I set the property on fire, because then all the animals perish as a result if the property burns down. I mean, it's not like, obviously, when I lived at 48 Green Hill Road, which was the Reds housing property, when I lived with Reds Housing, they were a vile company to live under. They were like what they call supported living, but mainly just for homeless people. people with slight problems. But yeah, basically I committed arson when I lived there, because I was pissed off with the support worker constantly having to see me as part of the contract, and the fact that they didn't have heating on very much there, and they wouldn't let you have the heating on very much. They didn't have the heating on hardly at all. It was horrible, it was nasty, I didn't like the property. And so basically one day what happened is I went and basically ended up trying to cook out of desperation because I was really hungry, and I threw loads of dry pasta in a frying pan with lots and lots of oil, and I just put the ring on full blast, and it created a fire basically, because I went back into my room to leave it for a bit while I was waiting for it to cook, not knowing that you have to put pasta in boiling water supposedly. But they said, oh, you knew what you were doing, the support worker said. He says, everyone knows you put pasta in a pan of boiling water. He says, you knew what you were doing. You've been shown multiple times because my partner has shown me multiple times before that incident how to cook pasta. So yes, I did know how to cook pasta technically. And he said, I can read you like a book. I know that was deliberate. I know that was arson. And yeah, basically the property nearly ended up ablaze, and everybody could, he said, what if somebody would have been upstairs and they would have got trapped and burnt to death because of your stupidity? He says you could have killed somebody with that fire. If it would have spread rapidly, you'd have killed someone. But I had the sense to call the fire brigade straight away, and I was in floods of tears on the phone to the fire brigade saying, I've got special needs, I don't know how to cook and look after myself, I've been left vulnerable and alone. And I was crying and sobbing and crying and sobbing, and basically they felt really sorry for me, the fire brigade, because they just said you've got to try and keep an eye on cooking if you're cooking. And that's how that went. Luckily they buggered off before the support worker came, because he would have told them that I'd been threatening to set fire to the property on text messages to him on several occasions, saying, oh, just winding him up and saying, oh, I left the air freshener on, it could cause a fire, and things like that. And I used to use the cooker as a heat source sometimes. We're not actually cooking anything or having anything on it, but just turning the gas hobs on or turning the oven on just to heat the room a bit and stand in front of it for a bit to provide some warmth, because it was always freezing cold. It was the dead of winter. And basically they got angry about that. And then all these idle, silly wind-up messages like, oh, it's going to cause a fire and all that kind of thing is what made him say, I know you wanted to set fire to this property. And so the official reason for eviction that they put on that was arson, arsonist, arson. Even though the police and the fire brigade officially deemed it as accidental, because the fire brigade said, yes, it was an accident. That's for people to decide whether they believe it was a genuine accident and I didn't know how to fend for myself and cook, or whether they believe it was genuine arson. That's up to the individual viewer of this video to decide. I'm not going to tell you anything. But he basically said, I know it was arson. I know full well, I can read you like a book. And he wanted to get me criminally charged for arson. And it could have potentially endangered lives, and he wanted me done for it. But the police and the fire brigade didn't play ball with him. I just got put in a temporary accommodation for that night, and then moved on to the company that I live with now. Basically, I originally was in a shared house with lots of people where you share the bathroom and the showers and the toilets and stuff. But now, because I was so quiet and you couldn't say boo to a goose, and I was really respectful and really well behaved and quiet at Kathleen Road in Yardley, because I behaved there for a little while, they got me my own private studio flat So basically, I got rewarded for all my negative, vile, disgusting behaviours. I got rewarded in the end because I moved into a brand spanking new refurbished studio flat of my own in a shared house with other studio flats. But you get in your room, you get a washing machine, a cooker, your own shower, your own toilet, your own little you get your own little fridge freezer. Yeah, I said washing machine, cooker, and your own sink and everything, and your shower and your toilet and everything you need is in your little room. You don't have to share anything with anyone. And he says this is for very well behaved, very, very, very respectful people. He said this is a privilege. He said, do not mess it up. He said this is a real privilege to live here. I don't want anybody who drinks alcohol. I don't want anybody who causes nuisance and be's a bother. I don't want anybody who's disrespectful, anybody who misbehaves, anybody who's an arse, basically, and behaves like an arsehole. You don't want them there. It's for very well-behaved people only. So basically, all my negative behaviour and the arson incident led to me getting my own studio flat. The nicest place I've actually ever lived. And that's being God's all honest. That's the nicest place I've ever lived. So I got rewarded for being a vile piece of shit, basically. So that shows that sometimes misbehaviour and doing bad things can actually pay off. Being an ass and getting yourself thrown out of places that you don't like or you don't like living in. But it's up to you to decide if it's arson or not. I'm not going to tell you it's arson. It's up to you to decide whether my Asperger's autism was a big contributing factor there and I genuinely didn't know how to cook pasta. That's up to you to decide. I'm going to say it was an accident and it was all accidental, and that the fire brigade and police were correct in their judgment as it was accidental. But that's to you to decide whether, yet again, justice was never served, and whether the victims of that crime, again, whether they never got any compensation and real justice for it. That's up to you to decide, and let me know on the comments whether you think justice was done or not, and whether the police and fire brigade came to the right decision, because I was absolutely in hysterics and sobbing and crying and like basically being the victim sort of thing. But yeah, that's up to you to decide. Okay people, I'm going to go now, bye.